This is Story Robot. Welcome to r/petty revenge. Our first story of today is, Sister always steals my food, I make a fool of myself on her graduation to stop her. I come from a family of 6, my parents, my older sister, my older brother, my little brother, and me. Often, in order to bribe us into good behavior, our parents would buy us our favorite candy to munch on in the car. Now, I've never exactly been a giving person, not huge on sharing just for the sake of sharing. My parents, however, were trying to raise respectful and generous kids, and often forced me to share things even when I didn't want to. That's all fine and good, except that my sister abused this system. See, she would say she didn't want a bag of candy, then once we were on the road she'd start taking candy from all 3 of the brothers. That really pissed me off. I didn't get candy often, as my mom didn't like feeding us sugary food. So when I got my own bag of Sour Patch watermelon, I wanted to eat every last one myself. Besides, my parents would always offer to buy her a bag of candy for herself, she would just refuse because she knew she could leech off the rest of us. So after a point I started refusing her requests for candy. But that beep didn't fly with my mom, because that was being selfish, so she would force me to hand over the candy. One time I even said when I purchased my bag at CVS, "Sister, I'm not going to give you any of my candy. If you want Sour Patch, buy your own right now." "I'm fine," she responded, "I don't want a whole bag of candy." Fast forward 20 minutes into the car ride, my father was requisitioning a candy to give to my sister, as I sat fuming. This went on for years. My whole life, really. And I hated it. I would hide my candy when I got it, I would try and keep it out of her reach, but always a parent would intervene. Fast forward to my sister's college graduation. She is now 22, I'm a senior in high school at this point, and we're up at her school at a fancy beep restaurant celebrating after she had graduated that morning. In attendance are all immediate and some extended family, some close friends of my sister, and her long-term boyfriend who I was meeting for the first time. So, enough people for the following to be embarrassing to my family. Our meal ends and my mother offers to buy a nice dessert for anyone who wants it. My brothers, my dad and I all take her up on it. I ordered a vanilla bean cheesecake with a burnt sugar bird's nest on top. My mother repeatedly offers to buy my sister anything she wants, but my sister says she couldn't possibly eat a full dessert right now, and turns it down every time. The food arrives, and everyone is staring at mine. I'm sitting right at the head of the table in full view of everyone, so it's hard not to look, and aside from the cake slice being large and delicious looking, the burnt sugar bird's nest is huge and ornate, hollow on the inside like a beeping old-timey brass globe or some beep. Honestly, it was pretty impressive. And right as the food gets placed in front of us, my sister says, "I'll just have a bite of everyone's." At this point, I'm seeing red, having flashbacks to all the times my food has been stolen. Logically, the right thing to do would have been to just hand over one bite. I mean, it was her graduation, it was a huge cake, it would have been no loss. But it had become a matter of principle. So, the moment she says this, in one fell swoop, in full view of everyone at the table, I sweep up my slice of cheesecake and stuff the entire thing into my mouth at once, shattering the sugar nest, crumbs falling everywhere, in front of my whole family and some college students close to my sister who, again, never met in my life. My sister stares, appalled, and says, "Did you do that just so I wouldn't get any?" And I look at her, cheeks ballooning out like a chipmunk, face covered in cheesecake and graham, dead in the eyes and nod. There was a fair bit of shocked silence, at that moment and in the very tense car ride home. But to this day she never asks for anything from me anymore. Our second story of today is, my 9-year-old's petty revenge. Today, I got a call from the school my 9-year-old attends asking to please come up to the school because my daughter was in trouble for vandalizing another child's property. This surprised me because my daughter is a bit of a goody two-shoes and never gets in trouble, so I dropped what I was doing and swung by the school to find my daughter sitting in the principal's office grinning ear to ear. I was ushered in to take a seat. The principal immediately launched into a tirade about how my daughter had deliberately broken another girl's necklace and how unacceptable it was. Once he was finished, I turned to my daughter to hear her side of the story. Last year, my daughter saved up her pocket money to buy best friend necklaces for her and this girl. I ordered them from wish.com for her. This year the friendship went belly up when I discovered this girl was trying to extort her friends including my daughter into buying her expensive items on a kid's game with threats, backstabbing my daughter and threatening anyone who dared play with her at lunch, so she was completely isolated. My daughter cut off contact and has been rebuilding her friendship circle, and all was going well until this little girl started repeatedly demanding that my daughter give her the other half of the friendship necklace so she could give it to someone else. The fact we were the ones that bought the necklaces to begin with was apparently a minor irrelevant detail. My 18-year-old niece and nephew are very protective of their young cousins and were quite upset for her, so they decided to offer her the opportunity for therapeutic destruction. Last weekend they got out their tools and helped my daughter shatter the charm into 7 or 8 pieces with a hammer, some pliers, and had a great time. My daughter put the pieces of the charm in her jewelry box as a reminder of what fake friends can do to you. Anyway, apparently this girl kept demanding the necklace every day, hassling her, so my daughter hatched a plan. She gathered up the pieces into a little bag, took them to school today to empty the bag in front of the girl, and told her she was welcome to the necklace as long as she likes jigsaw puzzles, but she will probably need some glue. Apparently the girl went red and stormed off to the teacher to say that my daughter had destroyed her necklace, and my daughter was sent to the office. I couldn't keep a straight face and burst out laughing. You could see the vein in the principal's forehead pop out as he looked at me laughing. I pulled out my phone, showed him my purchase history to confirm that we bought the necklaces, and my daughter is perfectly within her rights to destroy her own property if she so wishes. He finally dismissed us and my daughter skipped back to class laughing hysterically. My niece and nephew are quite proud and planning to take my daughter out for ice cream this weekend to celebrate her standing up for herself. Our last story of today is, be a condescending, beepish vegan trying to order carry-out. Enjoy a decidedly non-vegan meal when you get home. I never really believed in the stereotype of the condescending, holier-than-thou vegan. I figured it was an invention of omnivores that like to make fun of vegans and project some kind of judgmental attitude on them. And then I met her. She came into this really solid Asian fusion restaurant that does carry-out. She was talking to her friend, and the gist of the conversation was that she was appalled that she was even in this restaurant. The food didn't even count as vegan, since they also served meat. In fact, for the 10 minutes that I knew her, she basically had nothing nice to say about anyone or anything. It was pretty spectacular, listening to one person manage to say nothing nice for 10 minutes. She could win gold in the Ass Olympics. I'd been standing in line patiently waiting to place an order, with one person in front of me. As she walked in, that person finished ordering, at which point she breezed by me like I didn't even exist. "I'd like a tofu lo mein." The woman behind the counter looked at me, and I coughed politely. "I'm sorry, I was here first." This elicited the biggest, most, "How dare you waste my time," eye roll I've ever seen, and she wordlessly stepped back. I ordered a chicken fried rice. Then she ordered her tofu lo mein, and we stepped back to wait for our food. 10 minutes later, the first order popped up, at which point this woman, mindlessly chatting with her friend about how much someone they both knew is a total beep, swiped the order without thinking and without a thank you, and stormed for the door, in a desperate hurry to ruin other people's evening somewhere. My first thought was, isn't it likely that my order finished before yours? And I almost said it. And then I realized she was storming out with a meal she really didn't want. The next meal popped up about 2 minutes later. I grabbed it knowing there was a solid chance it was tofu, thanked the very nice woman behind the counter, and left without stopping to open it, afraid that if I wasted a second's time that angry shrew might have stormed back in and corrected her oversight. I triumphantly ate a tofu lo mein back at home that night. Well, I ate the lo mein and picked around the tofu. I don't know if that harpy returned demanding her correct meal or if she just got home, realized it was chicken fried rice, and threw it away dejectedly. I just hope she felt some level of the misery she seemed to enjoy forcing on everyone around her. Thank you for watching. Error. Problem detected. Not enough subscribers. Please subscribe, like and comment.